Et le voilà enfin avec nous, Jake Weary. Bonjour Jake, hi. you speak French? You don't speak French now.
Seulement un petit point.
Seulement un petit pois. A little p. Welcome here for this interview about the concert you're going to do tonight. You've played here like 6, 7, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And you come back. It's nice from you.
Yeah, well, we used to do a lot of shows in Paris, so it's good to come back as often as possible because we always have really good shows. Big places, small places. Paris is, it's like a second or third home. Paris and Montreal, both French-speaking countries, obviously.
You're here tonight to celebrate the 20 years of the band, as I understood. 20 years?
Yeah, it's our 20th anniversary since we did the first show.
Wow. And it's always there's always a special chemistry in a band if it lasts 20 years. 20 years is a long time for a band.
Yeah.
How did you make it?
We're just trying to still achieve some sort of commercial success, so we'll keep struggling.
It's very funny.
Yeah, maybe if we sell a lot of records one day and get in the top 10, then we'll stop.
You'll end that.
But until then, we'll still keep playing together.
Fortunately for us, maybe unfortunately for you. Unfortunately for us, please stay.
Yeah, no, I was joking. No, we all really enjoy what we do, and it's the same band, the same musicians since the first.
Since 20 years.
Yeah.
It's
a few changes, but 90% of the band is the same.
It's quite incredible. I was thinking about listening what you've done. Maybe you could tell us the story with that very strange and very funny, although for us, song about Serge.
Yeah, well, there's a few little links to the story. We, Ollie and myself, and also this guy called Malachi, who's part of the Herbaliser collective, very serious record collector. We all were on tour in like 98, 97, and we woke up on the tour bus and it was parked in some big boulevard here in Paris. And we all rushed to the record store and we all wanted to buy the Histoire de Melody Nelson album. And I was really lucky. I got it for 50 francs in an old junk store. And then I went to the next shop next door and bought an ARP, not an Odyssey, but an ARP Pro Soloist synthesizer, which was actually broken, but it was like it was £100. What's that, 1,000 francs? Or?
You couldn't use it? It was
I took it home and got it fixed. But it was a really good day for me to get the record and that. And then we wanted to do a cover version of L'Homme à la tête de chou. And we were working with this guy called Fred, or Jai now, who's a kind of psychedelic DJ and art collector in Paris. And we asked him if he could recommend someone to either rap or do some poetry, and he put us in contact with Philippe Catherine. So he came over to my studio in London. It's a long time ago, 13 years ago. No, it was 2005. 5, yeah, Tate London.
And it was a good idea from that guy about Catherine, because Catherine at this time was not as known as he is now. It was just before his very big hit, who was Robot après tout, which was maybe the first record that he could be known here.
We have a kind of tradition of working with people who go on to become a lot more famous than we've ever been.
Okay. And what about these influences in your music of the cinema? We always, in lots of songs, we can hear like influences from, for example, from a blaxploitation movie, but also like from spy movie.
Well, Ollie and I are 70s kids, and we were lucky growing up in the 70s watching even TV shows like The Professionals and crime shows. The music, the production companies had a lot more money to spend on paying musicians and paying for good music. So the music you would hear even on the TV, on adverts, was really, really good, and obviously had a big influence on us. So without even knowing that it was Lalo Schifrin, if you watch Dirty Harry or Enter the Dragon, maybe not when we were like 7 or 8, more like 12 or 13, but it was such good music. And when we started the Herbaliser, we didn't know any rappers, so we were making music that was inspired by hip-hop, but we kind of had to flesh out the music and embellish it, making instrumental music that had the movement of cinematic score music. You know, it wasn't just a loop that repeated and repeated and repeated. We were trying to make our music actually move and build up and, you know, have crescendos and lots of dynamics. So a lot of that was inspired by the music we grew up listening to on the TV.
There's also a genre of movie that maybe influenced you, but it's as a genre, and also the music is the blaxploitation. Like we can hear a lot of black music also in your music. And for example, in the Missing Suitcase that we've just heard, there was a flute that made me think about Gil Scott-Heron, for example, or Youssef Latif. You also have influences from this jazz people?
Yeah, absolutely. Is my mic gone? No, it's good. Yeah, it's you know, people like Ramsey Lewis, all sorts of music. I mean, the funk, the soul, jazz music, hip hop, all mixed together. And that's one of the interesting things about hip hop when they were sampling a lot, is they weren't just sampling funk music. You could sample, you know, Jean-Jacques Perry got sampled, and all the European funk and jazz as well. So, you know, you could sample anything from different continents and put it together and make it into a hip hop sounding record. But yeah, our influences are very wide.
What about the words? Sometimes you invite rappers to sing on your music. Do they write words? Do you write words?
No, they do the words.
They do the words. You don't do the words. You only focus on the music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
On the music and on the bass. Would you say that there is a leader in your band? Maybe, I don't know. When you see such a collective and such a groovy thing on stage, you never know if there's a leader, someone who is doing the composition, or is it always a collective?
Well, the writing starts off with Ollie and I. It used to be that we'd find a sample or a sound on a record and just build and build. And I play the guitar and the bass and a bit of keyboards. And then Andy Ross, the flute and sax player, and Ralph, the trumpet player, would get involved in the studio and start putting horn parts together. And that's kind of how all the songs evolve.
Do you
we don't record as a band, so we don't go into the studio and work together. So all of the albums and the records that we make are built layer by layer.
And you're always building that music, hearing to the music, or sometimes you've got an idea, a melody, and you write the melody, and after you...
Well, the new record that we're doing, it's we've almost finished writing it, is going to be the 8th studio Herbaliser album, and it's the first album we've done where we haven't used any samples, and it's all been things that we've written from the start. And like Ollie had some ideas that he would sing into his iPhone, and then put the singing into Melodyne, and it would give him the MIDI notes. So Ollie doesn't play any instruments, but he's having ideas, and because of technology, I guess he's able to put those ideas into a computer and make it make sense.
What's the name of that new record?
Hasn't got a name yet.
It doesn't got a name. It's a good name, maybe. I don't know. When it's supposed to come, you don't know. It's like it's going to be released this year?
We hope to have it finished already, but unfortunately in September I found out that my lymphoma had come back for the 3rd time, so I've just finished chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
Okay.
So that's taken 6 months out of
the stage and the recording. Okay, which means that for this new album you're going to make another another tournée.
I hope
tour.
So,
Yeah.
I think we've decided that it'll be better if we had a record deal, because the last album we released ourselves, and we're not that business minded, and all the marketing and the administrative work was just too boring. So we'd rather have a record company take care of all the promotion, and we just make the music like we used to.
So maybe there's a new tour. Are you just like Bob Dylan was doing his never-ending tour? And maybe it's the purpose of such a band. Like you're of course you're a studio band, but you also make people really dance. And
yeah, I think in France in particular, we 5 or 6 years ago, even 10 years to 5 years ago, we were doing so much work out here. We kind of almost overdid it. We played everywhere and came back the next year and the next year and the next year. and it's a bit quieter now than we'd like. We'd like to be doing more shows, but we haven't released a record for nearly 4 years. So hopefully, when the new record comes out, we'll get some more interest and get some more shows.
I've just seen. I don't know if you remember that, but like you played in a venue here in Paris that we loved, which was the Élysée Montmartre that burned.
Yeah.
I hope maybe you have good memories from that. That venue that is missing. I miss that venue actually. I love it.
Absolutely, that was one of our favourite shows in Paris.
Well, Jake, thank you very much
Thank you.
for this moment. Thank you for the concert you're going to make tonight, and maybe see you next time here with the new album and another show.
I hope so. Yeah, we really like this venue. It's a good venue, and the history of the artists that have played here before is second to none. It's kind of like the Paris Ronnie Scotts.
Exactly.
Yeah, always a pleasure to come to Paris.
C'est toujours un plaisir de venir à Paris. Thank you very much. Have a little rest and then have a good show.
Cool. Cheers.
New Morning.